To A Place to Ponder, a show where I talk to creative individuals about their beginnings, their inspiration and work to date. So thank you so much for joining me all the way from Vancouver.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So how's quarantine going for you?
It's been a roller coaster, as I'm sure with everybody, but it's just been challenging because the film industry just shut down. Like overnight, we were in the middle of production, and so it's just been like a waiting game. There's like nothing to do whatsoever. It's not even like you can work from home and do little bits. Like it's just an absolute shutdown. So we all kind of like are just in limbo. We still don't know when it's going to reopen. So it's been challenging, but it's I've had a lot of time to watch TV shows that I've never had a chance to, and films, and I enrolled in some classes just to like keep myself busy. But yeah, I'm kind of itching to get back to work. I'm not gonna lie, just for that routine and just kind of like that's why I'm in Vancouver anyway. So I'm wishing we could get back as soon as possible.
Yeah, it must be so annoying. But that was going to be my next question: what's keeping you busy? But it sounds like you're doing lots of fun things. Have you like learned any new hobbies or anything?
Yeah, I actually took quite a few finance classes just to like learn about the markets and things. Like it's completely random and completely off the topic of film, but I was just always interested in like business and finance, so I'd never had the time to do that before. But so I enrolled in some financial market classes, and just have been like they've been like 8-week classes, and they've been full time. So like that's literally what I've been doing with my time. But I've now finished them, so I'm like, right, well, let's get back.
What's next? Yeah, that's so exciting though, and interesting that you chose something so different.
I think like because I've always wanted to be on the business side of film. That was like I knew that from the get-go. I never wanted to be in front of the camera, and I'm a little bit more businessy than creative. So down the road, like I would love to kind of maybe get into producing, or kind of even the job I have at the moment. We do a lot of negotiating contracts and budgeting, and always trying to cut corners with money. So even though it's not exactly tied to what I do, I just feel like it's a skill that you could always benefit from knowing more about, just understanding money and finances and businesses. And because at the end of the day, like the cheaper you can make a film, and the more the profit will be at the end of it, and all that kind of stuff. So
I think
I'm hoping we'll all tie together one day.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. I think it's definitely easy to forget that the film industry is ultimately a business. And there are so many of those aspects behind it that people just don't, it just gets forgotten. It's like all the praise goes to the actors, but there's all the behind the scenes things that gets lost.
Also, like just in casting, like with the job, the like casting is only like a small part of like what I actually do, because like once that's just like so like minuscule in like pre-production. I stick through the film all the way through, so I'm constantly like renegotiating, and I mean we've even like changed contracts throughout, and like when you have to fire people, and then obviously there's even been cases where like productions have run out of money or spent too much on episodes, so we have to cut back on like the next episodes and stuff. So there's a huge business side to it that is just the majority of my job, I would say, kind of like that.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited to speak to you today, is because although my podcast mostly focuses on sort of the people within the creative side of it, whether it be actors or musicians or models and things like that, I was really excited to speak to you because you're a casting director, and I feel like another side of my show, which I hope to promote, is inspiring people about with job roles within industries that they wouldn't necessarily know existed. So I wondered if you could begin by just cutting it to the basics and explaining what your role as a casting director entails.
Yeah, of course. So I'm with another woman, and we almost get freelanced out by different studios, and we kind of get attached to a project. So I'm always kind of working for a different studio with a different team for a different company. So at the moment I'm contracted under Netflix, but over Christmas it was Disney, and then it's like Universal. So you're always kind of working for like completely different teams and studios and everything. And basically in casting, what we do is the first thing is we receive the script of a rough draft, and it's always like months and months before the production begins. But in Vancouver, it's mostly LA productions that are filmed up here, so we kind of get the script attached with like the lead actor, or at least the lead couple of names. Because obviously the pool of talent in Vancouver is a bit more on the, not as A-list level. So we do that, and so we'll get a script with like this is going to be like with Disney, and then it's going to have like this person star in it. Would you be interested in filming? It's going to be 6 months. And so we do that, and there's so much being filmed out here that we are kind of at a point where we do get to choose like what projects we want to work on. And then once that's kind of all the contracts have been negotiated, we then have a very, very preliminary meeting with the very first production draft script, and we just break it down scene by scene and just decide what we need in every single scene. And it's like the meeting goes on for hours because you actually have to like break it down and take notes and discuss kind of just like what their vision is as well, because you have to take into consideration like what network it's going to be on, or what if it's going to be on the cinema release, and like things like that can determine what like the director might think of like as old or young. Like I began by doing CW shows, so like if there was scenes said like we need an older person, like 30, but like in a movie, the older person can be like 90.
Yeah.
And then we have to discuss kind of where the movie's going to be shot, or where they're trying to depict. So it's like the ethnic mix that we need, and just there's just so much to discuss in those early meetings of like just to make sure we're all on the exact same page of what the director and the team and the producer's vision. And then you also have to take into consideration like who's been cast as the lead actors, because you want to, you'd like if we did a film and the lead actor was a white male, then all the supporting roles we would maybe consider different like ethnicities, just so it's not like one in particular.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of technical things that go into casting, which is I have a lot of actor friends, and I always want to say like it's just a perfect storm if you get cast sometimes, because there's just so many other things to consider when filming, that it's not just about like the talent of you, like it could be just that we've got like a black actor and we need like this specific look or person, an age range, and like you have to be if you're a union member or not, and there's like so many things that we have to consider. It's just like hours and hours of work just to like find one person. But so then basically we just kind of go through the script, find the actors, go through the script and decide what actors we need, and then we begin our like we reach out to all the agents and we begin the whole casting process. But the thing is, we kind of start, so we'll try and get like the draft of what days we're filming what scenes, and we actually kind of cast as we go.
Okay.
So a lot of it's not always sorted right before we begin filming. So that's why like you'll stick with the production for the duration of filming, because they might have like a different idea, or they'll begin filming and decide that they want to go in like this direction, or so there's a lot of changes that go as it happens. And so we just cast kind of like throughout as the scenes come up, and it's very last minute. We'll have people casted that are filming like the following week, and you're just constantly negotiating with agents, and just it's like there's so much to the job. Like I'm still learning, and I've been doing like casting in particular for 3 years, and it's like people are just like, oh, you like hold auditions and like choose actors, and it's like it's so much more than that, and it's just a lot, and you're just constantly in communication with like the ADs on set, because they might not like the people that are casted and that we need to recast, and they might love them and say we want to like make that a bigger role, and then you have to like negotiate if the actor can even film extra weeks if they've come from a different area, and it's just like a lot, basically.
Sounds like a lot to handle.
Yeah, we just stick through all the way through to production until it wraps, and then on to the next one. So it's a lot of work, but it's it's fun and it's like always different, which is good.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to ask. Is I looked at some of the shows you've worked on. So you've worked on some really interesting projects, from like Riverdale to Sonic the Hedgehog, and they're very different. How do you sort of tap into what the show's asking for?
I think it's a lot of I think with casting, there's a lot of just like intuition, and it sounds like so vague that does, but I mean it's like you just have to really understand, like read the room of like almost stereotypes sometimes too, and like ask people like in the meetings just to make sure you're all on the same page. Like in Sonic the Hedgehog, we had a scene where they obviously go into like they're on a road trip and they go into like this Wild West bar, and you just have to use your brain, and it is almost a stereotype in the sense like, okay, so we want to have some like biker guys with beards. You're in the Wild West in the desert in America, like a bit rough and ready, kind of like that character-y type of person. Or if I'm doing a Disney film, you kind of understand. You just have to really understand what like the Disney brand is, and kind of understand like what they want to get out of the film. And it's just a lot of communication with the director and producers, I would say, that really like taps into making it perfect.
Yeah.
But as a casting person, they rely on us to like understand somewhat the common sense of what they're really looking for.
For sure. So it's like listening and bringing it to life.
Yeah, and I think we just read. I mean, I read the script so many times because it's like constantly being edited. I just like do as much research as I can with what studio I'm working under. I mean, the directors I've got to work with have been like really great people. I've learned so much from. Like, I've learned just completely as I've gone along with this, and so they really like. I did a movie with Steve McQueen, who did 12 Years a Slave, and it's called Needle in a Time Stack. It's not come out yet, but he was so specific about the look he wanted that it was just constant communication with him, and I would show up on set with like photos of people, and like it was just he just was so specific, which sometimes can be really helpful for us because it's like, tell me what you want and we'll deliver it. But then sometimes it's like there's not much wiggle room, and he has like such a specific vision, and like you're trying to get it right and make him, impress him and get him to have the vision of his movie. At the end of the day, it's got his name attached to it. So yeah, it just changes. It's very like it's so dependent on the movie you're working with, like on, and then the director you're working with, and the actors.
Yeah.
Because some actors as well, like we've had notes that they don't have chemistry with people, and so that's always a challenge because you can get it perfect, and then on the day if they show up and it's not working, it's just like back to drawing board. But like time is money, and you've got to like film and everything. So
sounds like a lot of pressure is on your shoulders. Actually, I don't know if I could handle that.
It is. It is definitely a lot. But I'm kind of like a type A personality, so I think it's like not for everybody, but it works for me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been nice to have a little bit of a quarantine break. I'm not going to lie.
I think a lot of people have felt that.
Yeah, I think we were just on like a wheel of just going and film days, like, they film for like 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so it's just you kind of are on the clock every day. I mean, like all hours of the day, but it's kind of just part and parcel of the career. I'm sure or anyone in film, it's just, it's not 9 to 5, is it? It's just a very much like full-time lifestyle almost.
For sure. So how did you get into casting? It doesn't sound like something that you just sort of study and get into. How did it happen for you?
So I actually began in when I finished high school in England. I took the traditional gap year before uni, and I went to New York, and I was an intern for actually a film publicity company.
Snap! I did an internship in New York on my gap year, but for a production company.
No way! That is so... what was the production company, if you mind me asking?
It's called Modern Epic. It's a small startup in Soho. So yeah, I just managed to get it through my nana randomly. One of her students knew the person. But yeah, how random, because no one ever does like that.
And like, it's so much has happened since then. I almost forget that even happened, but that's so crazy. Yeah, I did the exact same. I went to New York for the year and I interned, and it was completely life-changing because I then didn't go to uni the following year. I just stayed with the company for an extra year, and that was just such a great experience of just being on, just being at the forefront of like great films I got to work on, and we did. I mean, we just did so many films, but like the promotional side of it. So we would do the red carpets, the premieres, the TV appearances with like the late night talk show hosts, photo shoots, like fashion shows, and it was just so much I learned, and it was just like, oh, there's so much more to film than like the production. Like did not expect like the depth of the job or the internship that then turned to like a job after. And I was like, okay, I want to do something in film. I just like need to explore more of the different job options because my mind of what you could do in film was just opened, if you get me.
Yeah.
So, but my visa ran out, so I had to figure out a way to stay. So I actually applied to go to school, like to university in LA.
Okay.
So I did that, and I studied business and film. And it's like I've had a very long-winded way to get to this, but basically I did publicity, went to do my degree, and then afterwards I just basically took anything anyone offered me. I was a personal assistant, like for just actors on any kind of show that they would do. I got to go to South Africa with our mutual friend Ryan.
Yeah.
Him and we got to go to Cape Town for 6 weeks, and we assisted on a movie out there.
Wow.
I was just doing anything and everything, so I just didn't know what I wanted to do in film, and I was just struggling to try and get visas sorted in the States, and in England I just didn't really know the film scene that much because I'd spent so much of my time in America, and I just ended up looking into Canada because I knew that Vancouver had a huge film scene, and being under the Commonwealth, I could get a visa really easily.
Yeah.
And so I actually just came out here temporarily for like 3 months in my head. I was like, I'll just give it a go. And I applied for so many jobs in film. And it was actually an extras casting agency that hired me. Like after about a week after I got here, they're like, oh, you've got any experience in film? Like, come along for this. And I just gave it a go because I just like had no direction. And it was a really great learning experience. I was with this company for like 6 months because I got to go in the meetings, I got to sit at the table, and even though you're only like a small like part of the movie, you're still sat at the tables, at the table reads, you're part of the crew, you get to go to the wrap parties, and I just networked my way in and managed to get a job with an actual casting company with this woman who was looking for somebody. And yeah, just a lot of networking, a lot of kind of blindly going with it and just kind of seeing what stuck. And yeah, so I've just, you know what I mean? There's no like straight path, and there's never even like passion for it. It was like, okay, well this is good, and then I got to like stick with it. I was like, well, I really enjoy this, and yeah.
Well, that's part of what I want to sort of highlight is I feel like in the UK it's so forced onto you that you finish school, you go to uni, you do a degree, and then you get a job. And that's just really not the way the world works. Like, you don't have to go to uni. You can go to uni. Even if you have a good degree, doesn't mean you're going to get a job. It's all about extras and finding experience. And I feel so passionately about it. I'm not even like halfway through my life. So I don't know why I feel so wise about it. But I feel it's quite toxic to feel like you have to be forced through a system that doesn't necessarily suit everyone. And I love the fact that you've had all these experiences and that you're sharing them. So hopefully someone can be inspired and know that it's not going to be a straight route, but you will get there eventually.
Definitely. I think I completely agree with you. I feel like the exact same. I always have felt that way. And, you know, even when I didn't actually know what I was doing, and you sometimes you have to answer to people, you know, you kind of sometimes have to say, like when they say, well, what are you going to do? Like, just like even just to like your parents, or I have really supportive parents, but I mean, you know, just them like, so what's your plan? If you're not going to go to uni, are you going to stay in New York? What about the visa? Like, and you know, the real life questions. But I'm like, you just have to like not follow just this one straight path that like this is success. And then also like my advice that I just like gave to myself, but like what I would always say to anybody is like, just take anything you can get if you just want to. Like, it's just kind of like experience. Like, you can gain so much experience if you just kind of say yes to anything. Like, you know, just kind of, unless you really know what you want to do and like you want to be an actor and like this is what you want to do. I mean, even still, so then it's like, yeah, but anything you get experience on film sets. Like,
Exactly.
I don't know, actually, any experience is so valuable. Like, I learned like even with extras casting, like I just learned how to really read the call sheet and like what all the like film terms meant and everything like that. That I'm like, this wasn't taught to me at university when I studied film. Like, none of this was given to me. It's just experience, and I just think like just there's no one way to it, if you get me. Like, exactly what you said, Liz, but that's exactly how I feel.
That's so good. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page. So do you have any advice to young actors that maybe feel nervous about the audition room, or they haven't auditioned yet, or maybe they have, but just about like coming from a casting director's perspective, do you have any advice to those people?
Yeah, what I would like definitely try and just get across to actors or people who are trying to like, you know, get the role is we almost need you more than you need us. And I know that's so hard to kind of understand when you're one of many auditioning for a role or something. But like, our job is so much easier when like we find the perfect person. Like, we stress over not finding people. So every time someone comes in, or if we're looking for somebody, all we want is for them to kind of like believe that they're their role and everything like that. You know, rather than be nervous. And I know that's so cliche to say, but it really is just this like mentality shift of like, we're almost like wanting you than you want. Like, we need you just as much as you need us. And then also just take anything, audition for anything. You never know the network that you can, like networking you can do. Any experience is great. And also, it's like another cliche, but it's not always personal. It's just so technical. Like, it is a business, and it's come down to the point where we've had two incredible actors and one that's got a lot more experience, but charges a lot more money. And our job is to constantly like live within the budget and not go over budget. Like, that's like the one rule we just cannot do. So it's just, and there's like, we've just got to, it's just so technical. That's just, don't take things personally all the time. And so even if you get an audition and you don't get it, like, you're going to get so much experience from just getting more and more comfortable in the room and just walk in there with the mentality that it's a 50-50 arrangement.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, you know, like, there's nothing worse. The stressful week at work for me is just like when you just like can't find people.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's no film without the actors, so I guess it's just valuing them, understanding the value they have with the role.
Definitely. And we're like on your side because at the end of the day, the actors represent the casting department. So when you all get together, like, you know, hair and makeup have to constantly be in touch with us to understand who we're bringing in so that they can prepare. The costume department have to like know who we're bringing in so that they can make costumes to fit. So it's just like everyone works together, but like everyone's looking at the casting department. So all we want is like great people that are just so enthusiastic and are so open to like being on film and like, then we're on your side. If you get the role, or if you get in the film, or if you're on set, it's like you're representing casting at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so just like, we're not against you. Like, we are fully like looking for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sure that will give a lot of people peace of mind hearing that.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, am I right in thinking that you were in or on Taking New York?
I was, yeah.
How was that as an experience? I'm really interested to know.
So that was another like take anything that you can get situation. Yeah, I just left university in LA and I moved back to New York with no plan, didn't know what to do, and just was like trying to get back into film or like just anything. And a friend of mine from England was actually like opening a bar And so he was like, do you want to just bartend for a little bit and make money? So I was like, sure, like I've got no plan, and like that's so flexible with like whatever could potentially come in film. And then for some reason, like E4 messaged him and said, we're looking for British people that live in New York and are trying to, make something of themselves and a name stateside for themselves. Would you be interested? And he was like, yeah. And funnily enough, like one of my friends is actually the bartender who's also British, so it might be interesting to have like the dynamic of him and me, and whoever. And so a producer contacted me and was like, would you want to do it? And like, I am not made for the camera. Like, even I'm awkward in this interview. Like, I am just not
no,
made.
You're not.
And but it was just a reason to be in New York for the summer, to be like filming every day, like learn from producers. And I actually learned so much about reality television and just what the producers do and how they film and how they set up, and because it's completely different than like film and TV production.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that for I did it for the summer, but I actually then got the opportunity to go to South Africa. So I actually quit the show like before I should have, basically. And so like I got a lot of the scenes were cut, which is like a blessing in disguise. But at the time I was so scared to break the contract, but I just knew I had to go to South Africa. I was like, this is an opportunity like I'll never get again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did it for a little while, but like I just that's another one of those moments where I'm like, is that honestly my life? Like what happened there? Like,
it's so funny because I actually remember watching it. I think I looked, it was like 2015, so I was 15 at the time. But so I forgot that that I'd watched it, and then when I was sort of doing my research, I was like, oh, I watched this program. I remember that.
That's so funny. I think I watched it once when it came, like when it aired. I like watched it just to like see how it all turned out. But yeah, it was pretty like. I'm just not comfortable in front of the camera, basically. Even on a reality show, it was just like...
Yeah. And how much of it was staged?
All of it. Every single bit. Like, there was people on the show that weren't even that weren't even living in New York, that they'd flown out to pretend to live in New York. Oh. And they were just like... I remember the first meeting I had, it was like, okay, so you... and him were friends in England, so you guys go way back. And we've not filmed the scene yet, but like he's going to talk to you about this date that you've been on to this like yoga studio with this guy that you've not met yet, but like just pretend that the date's already happened. And I was like, oh, okay. So like I'm having a conversation with a guy I don't know, pretending to be his like old friend about a date of a guy I've never met that's not happened yet. And it was just like they just filmed out of sequence. They filmed like. And what they would do is you just have microphones in your, not microphones, like
a headphone.
A headphone like in your ear or an earpiece. And the producers would just basically like prep you for the scene. And so you just like, right, we're going to start filming, but like this is the scene, like this is kind of like the dynamic of what we're trying to get out of this. And then you would sit there for like 20 minutes kind of thing and just like naturally chat. And then they would edit that down to like a few minutes or whatever. And try and get the pieces, so the conversation would just keep going and going until like you kind of gave the producers what they wanted out of that conversation, and they just encouraged drama. Like we would drink before, and like in the bar as well. It's like, no, like, if you want to take a shot before we start filming, like like loosen up a bit and everything. But yeah, it was very staged and it was acting in a way.
I was going to say, you may as well have been an actor at this point.
I think a lot of the people on it were like wooden actors, so it definitely is an actor, and it's I'm just not an actress, so it was like just like not natural for me. But it was a really actually great experience, and I got to be in New York for the summer, and I learned so much, and yeah, but that was just like my like reality career. That was it.
Been and gone in one summer. So would you ever look to go into casting for reality TV?
I actually would definitely be up for it because it's an entirely different ball game, but I just think it's like what casting people want for reality TV at the end of the day. Like they want the characters, they want the like emotional people that will react off the bat and you know are very like shameless sometimes. Like they want those people that don't really like want to have that self-awareness that makes them uncomfortable and stuff. So it'd be a really interesting like field to go down, to just kind of find real people, and depending on what show I did. But I think I just really love film.
Yeah.
Like that's where this all began, like my passion for film and TV. And I just grew up watching like lots of films, and we were just a film family. Like we really appreciate good films, and it was just a massive part of my childhood that I just think I want to just work my way up to like the Oscars films.
Yeah,
you know?
You'll get there. You definitely will.
It's really good films that I just like want, just incredible stories, and just like you just can't believe that like somebody made that film, or like that story was written, or like those actors like had that performance. Like that's like what inspires me. Like that's like my favorite thing on the planet. It's just like a great film. When you go to the cinema and you watch a good film, you just walk away just like high on life.
Yeah, I love that feeling.
Yeah.
I was actually really craving the cinema like last night. I was just thinking, I really just want to sit in a cinema. And I don't normally go that often, like even when life's normal. But yeah, I can't wait to just have that proper feeling again with the big screen, the loudspeakers. Yeah.
Definitely. There's nothing like it. I love it so much.
So what would you...
I think that's always going to be in film.
Yeah, that's good. I guess it's like more... I don't want to diss anyone. More professional, I guess, because you're like...
Well, it's a slightly different field, isn't it? It's like people can be actresses in films and like remain somewhat anonymous and be a character and everything. And I think with reality TV, like there's a huge fame side of it now, and like social media influences come out of it, and drama, and you kind of exposing like parts of your life that are edited, and I don't know, it's an entirely different ballgame.
And I guess it's being careful that the people can handle it as well, because obviously we've seen with Love Island and things, people just can't take the fame that comes with the show. So I guess it's being mindful of that as well. Someone's life at risk.
For sure, because it just seems to catapult people, doesn't it, into the spotlight. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because just touching on Taking New York, we actually, when we were like messaged and originally chose it, and we all had to have like a Skype with this like psychologist, and he basically asked us a bunch of questions to like it was a test. And it went on for like an hour to see if we were mentally like on the edge, basically.
Yeah.
And then what we would do is every week, once we'd got the green light to go, she can maybe handle this, or she's actually like mentally stable. When we'd start filming, we had to have this weekly Skype session once a week with this psychologist, just to make sure we were on track. Because I think they were just so worried at the time that they knew they were going to edit all of us with whatever like footage they got, and it wasn't going to be truthful, and they just had to constantly make sure that emotionally we were okay to like handle it.
That's incredible.
It's definitely a side to reality TV that is, it's not just like going on a show and being famous. Like there's like definitely a psychology to it that's like toxic. So yeah, I don't know.
But even then, back in 2015, they were like concerned about that. So you sort of wonder how now they can get it so wrong. I guess it's because once the show's released, it's completely out of their hands. And I guess as much help as you can give a person, you still don't know how they're going to be affected by it.
I wonder if the social media things influenced it a lot, because even back in 2015, it wasn't on this level, Instagram and everything. And I think when you go on some like a bigger show, there's just, you have an instant like thing on your platform overnight of just trolling and people online that maybe wasn't there back in the day. So I think don't think anyone can be prepared for it sometimes, even when they think they can. So yeah, it's just it's a weird like.
I always ask my guests on my show if they have a quote or a mantra that they live by that helps them through tough times in work or just tough life situations like we are living in one right now. Anything that helps you get through.
Yes, okay. Did you watch Jojo Rabbit?
Jojo Rabbit. I feel like I know the name, but I don't think I've watched it.
Sorry, it was a movie that was nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, wow.
But there was a quote at the end of it. I'm going to Google it because it's honestly, I don't want to mess it up, but it's such a good quote. and it's basically it goes. Okay, sorry to
No, it's
get
right.
on your sudden. It just says, let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. And I love that because
That's so beautiful.
there's so much stress with this job, and it's high highs, low lows. Like when you're filming night shoots all for like 2 weeks straight, your hours are through the night, and then you can then just have like incredible days, and it's just this like whole experience that like when you then get to like watch the final product, you just like feel like so like amazing, honored that you were a part of it. So I always just say like no feeling is final, like just let everything happen to you. Just kind of like know on a bad day that you'll have like it's just flowing. It'll change, you know. Try not to be like take things like to heart and everything. So I would say that one. I like love that quote.
That's so nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I love hearing everyone's quotes. I think it's really fun to like know what gets people by, and it's helping me in a way, just hearing all this positive energy from every guest that I have. So thank you so much for your time and for coming on. It's really great to have spoken to you.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm like honored that you asked me to be a guest. I like honestly, it just really like honored. I don't know what the word to say is. It's like I'm flattered.